Welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Hema Ramson. Thanks so much for staying with us. Joining us on set, Rubadiri Victor. Budget 2012-2013, the package is expected to be delivered in 1 week's time. Now, we're a people we've been quite obsessed and in love with the tangible, understanding, valuing, and effectively appreciating the intangible elements of our culture, our gifts as people. It's always been a little difficult. We sometimes don't appreciate the cultural elements, the arts, the creative sector. We don't understand why we have to pay so much money to appreciate our own. Looking at it as, but I know this boy, why is he demanding this amount of money? I know this girl, why is she demanding that price, and that appearance fee? But really it's about appreciating, understanding, and valuing the intangible elements of our life in Trinidad and Tobago. The creative sector was identified as one of the growth pillars, or the pillars of growth in our economy. Is enough being done? Why is there still a gap from 2011 to 2012, now going into 2013? What progress has really been made over the last decade as we attempt to diversify our century-long obsession with oil and natural gas? Rubadiri, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for that introduction. I was like, what? Wow, let's let her flow. Yeah. Yeah, creative and cultural sector, Trinidad and Tobago budget. Here we go again, Trinidad and Tobago. What can I say? This administration, what I will say is that in the 2010 and 2011 budgets, unprecedented historic stuff was announced. I would say 75 to 85% of the progressive agenda of the creative sector, which has been outstanding since independence, which we couldn't even get politicians to mouth the words, have been in the last two budgets. The problem, nothing has been implemented. Nothing.
Nothing meaning since the 2010 budget?
Yeah,
nothing.
2010.
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago,
okay.
Or more. Right? So implementation, so we had to half full, half empty. The half full is that we've won policy battles and things have been approved at cabinet and parliamentary levels, and we have gotten things at policy level, and that's phenomenal. So guys, we can clap ourselves, whatever. However, in terms of real life, in terms of the life of the creative sector, nothing has happened. And if it was just everything was just moving on an even keel, that'll be all fine and good. But in the last decade, in that period of the 2000s to 2010, the entire sector was in free fall, was collapsing. And this was at a time when, globally, the creative sector was in renaissance. This is a time when the global sector became the growth economy of planet Earth, where developed and developing countries, the creative sector is the go-to economy. It's the second largest economy and industry on planet Earth, trillions of dollars of wealth being generated annually. And that's, but at that same time, we are collapsing.
Now, the government is in a precarious situation. They are attempting to reverse the economic fortunes that we have suffered over the last couple of years. We're still in negative growth. Mm-hmm. They're hoping to see a 1 to 1.5% growth rate. The creative sector has been identified as one of those sectors hoping to stimulate economic activity.
Yeah.
Is that going to, you seem a little uncertain, or pessimistic,
the thing is right now the industry brings in about $1.7, $1.9 billion into the economy. If those, just half of those things were implemented that were in the last budget, we can boot that up to about $6 billion in about 4 to 5 years' time. Very, very easily. Because the growth within the creative sector is geometric growth. It is not markup growth. It's not like you bring down something wholesale and you put a 55% or 35% markup on it and stuff. It is somebody like KMC doing a song for $6,000 in the studio and that song earning $25 million and counting. That is the capacity that exists within the creative sector. And those are the economies that we have to unleash, and we have to put the structures in place, and we have not. And so we are not reaping the benefits.
Who is charged with the responsibility of putting these structures in place? Because of the nature of our economy, the government is the major implementer, facilitator. They are the drivers of growth and economic activity. Some will also question where the private sector stakeholders and really do we wait for the government to do it all?
Well, the thing is that Trinidad and Tobago does not have the most basic ecosystem, facilitative ecosystem for the sector, meaning the legislation, the policy, the infrastructure. Those things don't exist. These are like the common sense things that I would say 40 years ago most countries in the world had put in place. I'm talking about the museum systems, the patenting of traditional things, the legislative things from quota laws to all those different kinds of things. That doesn't exist in Trinidad. So we are 40 years behind the curve. And that's one of the reasons why in the last decade we weren't able to make use of the renaissance that was happening globally, and instead we collapsed. So what we've done in the last 2 years was try to put all those things in place. So in the $6 billion that we believe that this sector can make, we say, okay, the heritage, meaning heritage sites, the exploitation of patented and trademarked heritage material and all those things could earn about $1 billion for the sector. For that to happen, basic things needs to be done. We have a national trust legislation. It has been promulgated. It's been on the books since '91, but it doesn't exist because there's no heritage list. So you could have something like the McLeod House being destroyed about 3 weeks ago. It's not protected. There's no building in Trinidad, no site, nothing in Trinidad is protected.
I know there was a site, the Virtual Museum. I think it's a Facebook page or something.
Brilliant work.
Yeah, they identified a number of artifacts. I think there was a house in Cedrus that had elements of the last train.
There are a number of different peoples who have compiled lists. There's the Artist Coalition Trinidad and Tobago, which I'm president. We have lists. The Citizens for Conservation have lists. The Sing has lists. The ministry has the Remember When Institute, and they're compiling lists. The thing is that, again, this is a problem. There's no coordination.
Right, everyone has a
all
list
these different things. And all these people are supposed to be sitting down with the National Trust, and the National Trust is supposed to do its work under Val Lewis, go to the AG's office and implement the list. So we can say these 1,000 sites in Trinidad are protected. And when that happens, you can now access tens of millions of US and EU dollars that's available only if you have that list and only if you pass a national cultural policy, of which we do not have one. So hundreds of millions of dollars are begging grant money, free money, internationally because we have not put in place basic things like that. And those things can save those sites and make those sites economized sites where they can now generate money.